Well, welcome back to Morning Live here on SABC 2. It was in 1996 when the all-new embracing South African Constitution was finalized and approved by the Constitutional Court. Its 20th anniversary this year marks a milestone in the history of the country post-apartheid. It has also inspired the Nelson Mandela Foundation to embark on a project with 95 young people aged between 19 and 22 from all across South Africa. Now, their voices will be represented in the exhibition called My Constitution that is being launched later today. Now, to tell us more about this exhibition, we joined in the studio by Sello Hatang. He is the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming through. Good morning to you too. Now, why was it so important that the foundation hear the voices of these young people?
I think it's important that as you mark 20 years of the Constitution, you then go back to those who were born at the time that the Constitution was signed into law. And I think for us, we were saying we haven't been listening to these young people enough. Some of the problems that we have in our country at the moment is because there's no listening. People come into a room with fully formed opinions of each other, and they are not willing to listen to other opinions of other people. And that's why we thought it important that we do that. We say to young people, what do you think this Constitution has delivered thus far? It is your Constitution. Do you think it's a Constitution that we should still be holding on to each word? And what do you understand about the Constitution, the South African Constitution? What do you think could have been done differently thus far? And those are questions that are being asked of Madiba's legacy at the moment. So we're responding to a multiplicity of questions and challenges that South Africa is facing at the moment, particularly when it comes to responding to young people's challenges.
And now, what are these young people saying?
I think mainly most of them demonstrate an understanding that the Constitution is about defending and protecting rights. And I think that's significant because you see how people resort to violence instead of negotiation, for example, and they understand that that's not the way to go. There are also funny questions that are asked. For example, they would be asked, would you sacrifice your life for others? And others would say, well, it depends how many people I have to die for. But if it's many people, then definitely I'd be willing to even consider it. And I think it means that we need to be asking ourselves the very question that Madiba posed back during the Rivonia trial, when he said he was willing to die for values that he held highly, and that we should be saying to young people, what are you willing to live for? And I think that's the key question that the Constitution presents us today. Because we're meeting at a time when South Africa is asking herself difficult questions. What next? We have scandal after scandal that's been hitting our country. And we're beginning to ask ourselves, what kind of country do we actually want to build?
So it's actually amazing that they are, in a way, familiar with our Constitution. I mean, the fact that they can answer certain questions that are being asked.
Precisely, and it gives us hope. Because most of the time we take it for granted that young people need to be involved in this narrative. We need to be changing the narrative to involve them more. And the foundation is giving a platform to young people to say, let's ensure that they participate more in building our democracy.
Now, we do know that this exhibition is being launched later tonight at 6 p.m. One of the speakers is the Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke, who contributed towards the formation of this Constitution.
I think this is the Constitutional Court is an important institution. As we have seen recently, most of the cases that have been going there about socio-economic rights have been resolved by that court. And to have someone of that stature then come through and speak to young people about what they thought about at the time and what he thinks now, how far we've come in terms of delivering and realizing the rights that we were enshrined in the Constitution. And it comes at a time when we also asking difficult questions about racism. Just last night, we had a dialogue about criminalizing racism or not. And you can see that young people are impatient and they're saying, we've had enough. 22 years on, we're still having these debates when we actually know that what racism and hate speech can do. And I think to have Ntate Dikgang Moseneke speak is one of those special moments.
Now, during this consultation that they had done, what sense was brought about? Are they really interested in the history of the country?
Young people are interested in the history of our country, but I suppose there's a little bit of despair that is brought about by the sense of hopelessness, because what do you need to be doing to get poverty and inequality under control, for example? And they're asking, it comes back to the basics of bread and butter issues. What did the Constitution deliver to my family? High levels of unemployment of particularly young people doesn't give them hope. And it's that has brought the Constitution under attack at the moment. And young people are saying, maybe we made too many sacrifices in the exchange. We gave up too much. We should have held on and said, no, we need to have a more equal society, both in terms of political power and economic power. So those questions are questions that we want to be responded to.
So they basically differ from one individual to another, also depending on the socio-economic status of these young people.
Precisely.
Now, next week on Monday, you are in Sharpeville to commemorate Human Rights Day. Tell us more about it.
We would like to urge South Africans to observe this day because you'd remember that back in 1960 we had 69 South Africans lose their lives. What we want to do with the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation and the Gauteng government is we will be hosting the Premier, for example, working with the Premier's office, and we will be in Sharpeville saying we'll have 69, at least 69 young and old white South Africans standing at headstones of those who lost their lives, to remind ourselves of our responsibility, because that's what was caused by hatred, racial hatred. So what do we do to ensure that 69 more people don't lose their lives? Not only in terms of physically losing their lives, but actually in terms of the sacrifice that we need to be making to ensure that we have a harmonious country.
Well, Sello, we're going to have to leave it right there. That's Sello Hatang. He is the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Hopefully it goes well tonight at 6 p.m. They're launching that My Constitution exhibition tonight. Well, it's